Well, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Bienvenidos, wherever you are in this world today. You are here for Cultivating Voices live poetry. It's our wild card open mic for our month of October. And we've brought a little bit of the magic with us, a little bit of the magic for our wild card open mic today, where we're going to feature 12 readers for 5 minutes, up to 5 minutes apiece, and then get as many voices as we can into the 90 minutes that we have for the program today. I'm very excited to be with you all. I'm Sandy Yannone, your host for today. We have a full slate of readers already ready to go for all of you. And again, we're so grateful to have all of you who are able to join us here live in our Zoom studio, and those of you who may be partaking of the October Wild Card Open Mic from Facebook Live. Again, I'm Sandy Yannone, your host for today, and I want to give out some thanks to Don Krieger and Kim Forts Parsons for their support of the program today. Well, hopefully the magic will be on our side, and that we will be enjoying a wealth of poetry. You know, I want to acknowledge also there is so much always swirling around us wherever we reside in our local habitats, our regional, our national, and certainly internationally, as we continue to follow the news sources that hopefully are reliable, the ones that we have access to. And I just want to share with you all that, you know, the wild card open mic is a completely open forum for respectful political, personal, political, the personal is political, and with a reminder, as I've been saying in the past few weeks, that if you feel like it would be useful to our listeners to provide any content notice so that a person who may want to mute themselves depending on the content that you might be providing, please do use your best discretion to provide that. It's not necessary, and it's not necessary for every single person, provided the content that you're reading and sharing. But if your content does have anything that you believe might, in your good conscience, be of a nature that might be distressing to general population, please feel free to provide that content notice. Well, I'm very much looking forward to today's live open mic, our wild card. We will begin today's reading. As I said, and as I mentioned, we do have a very full slate today. But we move over we go, for me now, it literally is across the pond, because I am here on the Atlantic coast now. And right across that pond over there in West Cork, we'll hear first from Catherine Ronan, followed by Harvey Soss. Welcome, Catherine.
Hi, Sandy. Hi, everyone. I'm going to keep it very short to allow other people to read later. I'm conscious of time. So these are very short poems. They've both been selected for a wonderful Poetry in the Park project established by Cork Libraries. The first poem touches on SAD, seasonal affective disorder, and it's called Every Winter Melts. Snake shifters must accept old, dead skin on the ground. Brumation slithers into New Year. Same fault lines as before. Nothing changes, old notes of badly played piano in winter. When it rains, we wash, read Greek mythology, pretend we are better than Icarus with the dream, fold back into the black envelope, lick it, send it off to March, every winter melt. And the second poem, both these poems are in my forthcoming collection called Elemental Skin. Second poem is called Here. Whisper to me and I will whisper to you. Feel my lips on the breeze across your cheek. Hear my words as a song amongst trees. Look up, you will see me. I am here.
Well, that's Catherine Ronan, everyone, whom, if I am not mistaken, well, first of all, congratulations on the publications. If I'm not mistaken, will be one of our featured readers in the first new book showcase of the new year. Mark your calendars. That's going to be January 2024. Thank you so much, Catherine. Always great to hear from you and see you, and that miraculous wall. I love that wall so much behind you. I do. I feel like I'm at the Long Valley pub when I see that wall. Well, next we go to the Artful Dodger himself, Harvey Soss. It's great to see Harvey here with us on the program. And then we will hear from Julian Matthews. Welcome, Harvey.
Thank you. The first poem I'm going to read is something that I finished, or hope I finished, just before I clicked in. So we'll see how that goes. It's called The Flayed Man. I'll bet you a kopeck he wished he had a cat's 9 lives, his own, not so replaceable as a shark's tooth, having been snatched from him while proselytizing in Armenia, date unknown. Peeled to the subcutaneous as snake dancing knives of pagans hissed at him in Albanopolis, curling jerk meat from the bone. Gods know, not wanting to hear any more of that Christ fellow. For a time, rolls of belly fat helped absorb the blows, the curses, serving much as do those blue strap-on chest protectors of baseball's home plate umpires calling strikes and balls, catching foul tips before being stripped of layered flesh with a thoroughness even Hollywood's most sought-after cosmetic surgeons would approve of. Bartholomew's face, resembling an etch-a-sketch of passing emotions, was the last to go. The parallel parked slashes of martyrdom exposing his high cheekbones, the black diamonded ski slope of his zygomatic arch. Crows and ravens, a lay table of black-robed apostates battling over the juicy parts, as the apostle, bit by bit, was whittled away, a prerequisite for future sainthood. The second one, I'll do that trigger language thing. If you happen to be a lanternfly, I warn you that this does not speak well of lanternflies, and you risk being stepped on. I spy with my little eye the first of the spotted lanternflies. I step on it, and it just won't die. Oh God, what have I done to deserve the lanternfly? Where is that black magic queen to feed it a poisoned apple, as she did Snow White? Poisoned apples being in such short supply, sold out at the Saturday morning farmer's market before I get there. Farmers complaining of how their crops were damaged by these buggers, and it's not fair. Grown men crying into their overalls, bearing farm stand witness to the puniness of their fall harvest, due in large part to the voracious sap sucking of such plant hoppers. How I'd love to scrape this one off my shoe, ambush it as it soaks up sun, warming its wings with a peacock's nonchalant self-adoration. It brings out the Torquemada in me, a deeply suppressed memory of barbarism I still refer to as the good old days, a gold mine my therapist can later dig into. Let's see how well it tolerates the application of a blowtorch to its private parts. I have studied the art of killing the lanternfly, Sun Tzu's prequel to The Art of War. As I assume a ninja position, intent on sneaking up to grind it into the sidewalk, I think it winks at me with its googly eye as if to say, bring it on, big boy. Today, one of us must die. Putting on my scariest clown face, I mock its polka dots, taking a defensive stance, concerned that with 6 legs, it may excel at Thai kickboxing. According to Sun Tzu, one can't be too careful when stalking the lanternfly. You can't just waltz up and clog dance on its ass. It fights much bigger than it is. Is it too late to consult Sicily's Corleones on the best way to whack it? Or subcontract the hit to one of New York's 5 crime families? I face it alone as Perseus did his Medusa, fearing its look might turn me to stone. Colorful as a string of Chinese lanterns, its skitters to hide among the rhododendrons. I stand between the lanternfly and my plants like the Colossus of Rhodes, like Dirty Harry asking some scumbag if he feels lucky. Apparently it does, choosing not to flee or fly. I would have thought that the size differential between us would be more to my advantage than it proves mano a mano, only to discover that its exoskeleton is tougher than my skin. Following Nikita Khrushchev's lead, I bang on it with my shoe to stun it, then balance on its thorax, jump up and down, pogo sticking it into the consistency of soupy oatmeal. With neighbors clapping, this has all the trappings of the Crusades redux, lanternflies in the mottled dress of Saracens. Soon, all bronchites will rise up as one to cleanse and maintain a new Jerusalem as Knights Templars of the Grand Concourse. First, of course, I will say a few words over my foe, with no soul to send to kingdom come, and bury it in a matchbox. Thank you.
That's the Artful Dodger, Harvey Soss. Yeah, you got it, man. You got it. You got it. I will use the broom with the lanternfly. I will use
They're tougher than that broom.
I'm sure they are, actually. I'm sure they are. Folks, a reminder while Harvey's with us still here that if you've got a reading series that you're wanting to promote or publications, upcoming publications, please do feel free to use the chat. And of course, use the chat to leave your comments in real time for our readers today. Of course, respectful comments. This is a public document, and to show your appreciation for today's reader. Thank you so much, Harvey, and we'll see you very soon. And good luck with those flies.
And join us, folks, at Artful Dodgers. It's posted in the chat.
Thank you. Well, next we'll hear from Julian Matthews. I'm so glad that Julian's able to join us today on the Wild Card Open Mic, followed by Joanne James. Welcome, Julian.
Hi. May I share screen?
Yes, no problem.
Thank you. Personification of a map. map to your heart. It's been a while since you used me. You relied on me whenever you got lost, needed directions, was scrambling or late. Now I sit in this cold cavern, this gloveless glove compartment, loveless as the half-used box of 3-ply masks. Your map of old that you abandoned for the mobile apps of new. I even missed the way you got so mad trying to pull me back this way and that. I never got it right. I have all the creases to show for it. It was more a trauma for you than a trauma for me. I never once complained. I knew where to draw the line. It didn't matter how you faulted me, only that I was useful. A 2D representation of your 3D world, one dimension left, but many more colorful facets, solid lines, curved contours and straight up and up grids, my borders and boundaries clearly demarcated. I never talked back, never told you you have arrived when you hadn't, or castigated you to take U-turns you didn't want to, or said recalculating in such a condescending way. I never tracked your comings and goings. It was always just between you and me. I was discreet and private that way. What lay on the map stays on the map. The last time you pulled me out was when you lost internet connection and your battery was weak. You pulled over and found me. I was so thrilled to be touched again, fondled by your warm hands like an old friend. You read me easily, just like remembering to ride a bicycle or tie a shoelace, and I got you to your destination on time. I was happy to be of service finally. You didn't fold me right though again. But I didn't mind to think you were so good at origami once. Kids are natural folders. Adults can't seem to shape the unfolding of their lives very well. It's an animal they wrestle with every day of their crumpled, creased lives. Never being able to tell the mountain from the valley folds. Forgetting that no matter where you go, wherever you end up, or even when you think you really have arrived, you'll always still need a guide, a chart, something tangible, someone you can hold on to like a reliable map to point you in the right direction, show you the way. End poem, thank you.
Absolutely beautiful poem by Julian Matthews, everyone. I was thinking so much also about one of my favorite poets, Elizabeth Bishop, and her poem, The Map. And I always love that map as metaphor, but you know, you're writing it in the contemporary sense and with the, you know, with the GPS and even though the physicality of the map. Oh, just absolutely lovely. Thank you so much. That's Julian Matthews, everyone. And we now will move on to Joanne James, followed by Ken Burch. Welcome, Joanne.
Hello, everybody. I want to say hello to Isaac Cohen. Happy to see you. It's so good to be in the room with people that I just communicate with all week long. I'm going to read, start with this, a quote by Alice Notley, and I've saved it for years. She said, "The fact that our souls are poems is obvious. There is a large and beautiful flower opening, and we are its petals. Over and over, lightning strikes the heart of this earth from the heart of each one of us, held in the dark and demanding storm of life. We are petals slipping open, slipping milky towards the closed eye of night. Our lives are petals woven in secret circles as the open throat of earth swallows us one by one. The large and beautiful, the dusky flower remembers each one of us. We must take no chances with the depth of this velvety beauty. The large and dusky flower remembers each one of us by name.
That is Joanne James. Go ahead. Do you have another one?
Okay, I'm just going to open my mouth and read one more.
Okay, no worries. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to interrupt the flow.
It's okay. Blind faith. I close my eyes. It's some kind of journey into the sanctity of the land where fallen angels are kept busy holding court with the dead. Dying turns the spiral, a deep rusty nail embedded in the flesh. Shells, fish, and stars compete with the last gentle breath. I can't waste one more minute making sense of everything. Oh, last acceptance, blind faith and light from the stars. There are too many people to hold hands with, too many bridges to cross. I close my eyes and see them gathering wildflowers in their arms. They enter the cities where our aching heart lies buried. The best language we have now might be silence. Thank you.
Oh, some powerful, powerful stuff from Joanne James. Thank you for those two poems. We're approaching that liminal time, All Hallows Eve, and the spirits do emerge, and we do connect, hold hands with the physical and the metaphysical. Thank you for those reminders. Well, next we hear from Ken Burch, and Ken will be followed by Lenora Good. Ken, great to have you with us today on the program.
It's good to be here, as always, Sandy, and my respect to your hat. And a couple of these should be fairly short. This is a series of the haiku form pieces that I sometimes do, just inspired by some kind of tricks of the lights this week, where it appeared that the process of loss of light was not actually happening somehow. It was almost as if the days stopped getting shorter, then started again. For a time, I thought the cycle itself had reversed, fall defying winter. In the end, of course, a trick of random sunlight, just that. Or was it? And what else of all that seemed inalterable could be something else? This second one is a short piece about some of the things of this week. I was originally going to write another poem that I felt I couldn't write yet, that just, it seems, looking at the whole situation in Israel and Palestine, there's a lot that I feel I have to be very careful about saying that I'm not sure I'm qualified to say or entitled to. So I'm just sort of, it's kind of a meditation on suffering, on wounds. So it starts like this. I thought to write a poem of Israel, of Gaza, in the hope that meaning might be prized from the mayhem of this past week, or the madness of decades, of wounds inflicted by the knives of nationalisms, religions. But it is not mine as a person, not of the blood of those whose blood is spilled on these lands this week, over all these years. There are words my pen is not yet free to write. I do not wish to do further injury, to add to anyone's suffering, grief, repression, or to justify anyone's infliction of those on anyone else, more of any of that. For now, all I can ask is this: can any wound be healed through wounding? Thank you.
That is Ken Burch, everyone. You know, you mentioned it being really a meditation, and everyone in this room is a deeply, deeply feeling person. And regardless of our religion, our orientations, our identities, yes, we all have different subject positions as we watch war, atrocities, and other experiences unfold over the course of our lives, and what we have because of social media and television and streaming, that we are witnessing everything in real time, mostly in real time. And I believe our voices are so important, regardless of our subject positions. And I also appreciate your deep sensitivity to being mindful of who am I and where am I in the fabric of how to speak, and who am I speaking for, who am I speaking to. Thank you for those poems, and thank you for that message so much, Ken. I really appreciate it. Well, next, everyone, we hear from Lenora Good, followed by Dianne Knox. Lenora, great to have you with us today.
Thank you, Sandy. It's great to be here. I attended an online workshop Tuesday that was supposedly going to be based on 13 ways of seeing blackbirds. And it kind of took a couple of detours by the time the class was over. But in the meantime, I did get 2 poems written, and I'll share them both with you. Farewell, my life, in 13 potsherds. 1. I want to throw myself across your bed, across you, to beg, plead, don't, please don't. We know you will. Why make it harder with my unwelcome drama? 2. We share a toast with your favorite rye to your new adventure. 3. We joke and laugh, and when you tell us your fear, your son's promise, you will not wake the sight of the veil. You relax, and laughter again fills the room, our hearts. 4. The time arrives. We each hold your hand, kiss your face, wish you safe journey, all while we smile, hold back the tears. 5. Your doula, your angel enters, carries your final cocktail. 6. We all stop breathing. She gives you the legalities. There is no antidote. Drink this and you will die. Do you wish to change your mind? 7. Your answer loud and strong. That's why we're all here, innit? 8. 2 gulps through a large straw. Worst taste ever. You eat of a popsicle to kill the taste, to numb your mouth. At 4 minutes, 30 seconds, your eyes roll to the back of your skull as you finally gaze upon your new adventure. 10. I sit next to you, hold your hand, softly stroke your arm until your gentle rhythmic breathing stops at 2 hours, 55 minutes. 11. My tear-constricted throat cannot release the great primal scream held just behind my lips. 12. My heart shatters, pulses through my body, 1,000 shards of brittle pain. 13. How do we fill the holes you carved in our lives? This one is not nearly so dramatic. And arthritic day hikes the high Cascades. Hiking the Cascades Skyline Trail, arthritic needs wail their displeasure. They are ignored. High to my left, a mountain meadow. Black bear romps, plays, eats sun-ripened berries. I watch, enthrall. Sure, he is a playful cub. 2 hikers stop. Tell me he is a full-grown black bear. They leave. I start on my way again, grateful. No mama bear is here. Grateful. I continue down the trail and the bear still cavorts in the sunny meadow. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. That is Lenora Good, and it is indeed. This is the time of the veil. This is the greatest time of the veil in any year, is this time. And yes, those 13 reminders, powerful, very, very powerful. Thank you for sharing. And it's a good example of why every single time we're together, I encourage you all to keep writing. And this is why. Thank you so much, Lenora. Stay away from the bears if you can. I'm reminded, of course, anytime there's a bear mentioned, I'm reminded of this tremendous, tremendous poem by the poet Maxine Kumin called You Are in Bear Country. And if you've not ever read it, I encourage you all to seek it out. I don't know the collection that it's in. I think it's actually in the Long Approach, but my books are still packed. Anyway, it's a found poem, and you will delight and wonder in it. Thank you. Thank you so much. Be well. Well, next we'll hear from Dianne Knox, followed by Billy Brown. Dianne, welcome. Nice to have you with us today.
Thank you. We're entering our rainy season. So this poem is Rinse, Repeat. Before conditioners, there were rain barrels collecting drips of raindrops, heated, then ladled on my welcoming head, each soft drop nourishing my pores, each pore cleansing my silky mane. Before the combs, he ran his fingers through my softened silk strands. Pausing near my ear, I would feel the slight brush of his lips, breath pounding my drums. Now when I see the clouds forming, my breathing shallows, anticipating warm showers. And this is called,
go right ahead. Go right ahead.
This is called Trigger Warnings. I would bet no one is writing to trigger you, that as poets, we gamble on triggering emotions in readers to empathize, realize we are regurgitating our own hurt, upchucking fermented memories that upset stomachs, minds, hearts, smeared on pages, blowing up in faces. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's Dianne Knox, everyone. Guess I'm a little on the edge today. I keep kind of coming in. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Beautiful poems. Rinse, repeat. I love that. I love that. My mom back here loves it, was clapping all the way. Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, we go now from the rainy season to Billy Brown and the Southwest. I don't think the rainy season is there yet.
We did not get much rain this season, no. It's good to be here. Hello, everyone. Thanks for all the poems from everyone, both already read and yet to be read. Lenora Good's poem reminds me of this wonderful play at my kids' high school called, it was either called 12 Variations or simply Variations on the Death of Trotsky. Very interesting play. Trotsky, I think, was killed with some kind of an axe to his head, but the variations are quite entertaining. And also I want to compliment Kim Ports-Parsons on that scary background. I have a poem. It's just one poem, Sandy, so no fear for interrupting me after I'm done. There will now be a second. Recently, as many of you may know, my brother Peter died in Michigan, and I visited him in the hospital. I helped him as he was released from the hospital, and a few days after I returned to Albuquerque, he expired. But shortly thereafter, I had a dream, and this poem comes from that dream. Hospital Dream. I am in the Midland, Michigan hospital. Since there are no private rooms or double rooms or group rooms available, I am relegated to a bed in the crowded hospital lobby near the entrance. I wait for friends and relatives to visit me, comfort me. I have no visitors, although a long single file of other patients and their visitors is steadily streaming into and out of the front doors. I rise from my bed and begin traversing the long line of people from the hospital entrance, back along East Lawn Drive onto Helen Street, almost back to my own Noski Street. As I move along the line, I suddenly meet my mom and dad, who are waiting to visit me, both long since deceased. We hug, chat, thankful that I had left the hospital in order to find my intended hospital visitors. After visiting with mom and dad, I encounter my favorite Auntie Helen, also deceased, not far from her house on Helen Street. I am beginning to believe I am in heaven. She is carrying a piece of German chocolate cake, which every year she makes for my birthday. I am unable to attend the party, however, because, well, you know. She also carried a bottle of our favorite Bailey's Irish cream. Further along, I meet my darling wife, who left the kids at home to come visit me, although judging by the distance she is from the hospital, she is never going to get to see me before she has to return home to pay the babysitter. We exchange warm embraces, passionate kisses, although, you know, we are totally in the public domain. Finally, after a mile and a half of walking this long line of folks all waiting to visit their loved ones in the hospital, I encounter my brilliant, beautiful daughter, Elizabeth, also deceased, who runs into my arms and hugs me, telling me about her recent debate trip to University of Chicago, where her team won the tournament against the best 40 high school teams from around the nation. Tells me she is accepted at Chicago with a 4-year full ride academic scholarship. This is the most wonderful, heartwarming hospitalization I've ever had. Thank you.
That is Billy Brown at your best, with a reminder also, like, again, folks, this is the time when the veil is very thin, gets lifted, and the visitations come. I'm reading a book of essays by Julie Marie Wade, one of our members, called Otherwise, and she talks about using dreams as prompts for poems. So, I encourage you all to pay attention to your dreams in these upcoming weeks. They will be possibly amazing spells for you to cast into poems. Thank you, Billy, for prompting me with that reminder. That's Billy Brown. Well, next, always a deep pleasure experience to be able to hear the voice and be in the presence of Lynda V Crawford, and followed by Bryan Franco. Lynda, very good to be in your presence today.
Thank you so much. It's just great to be here. Yeah, I love that last poem of yours, Billy. I firmly believe in the intertwining of us and the ancestors and progeny. It's all one circle. So I will read 2 poems, no trigger warning needed on these. The first is an ode. You will quickly realize to what without me saying. I'll read that first and then the second. Cocos nucifera. Don't stand behind the technicality of a California palm, ramrod, not swaying, trying to convince you its palmness is the same. Don't be fooled, not after you've dipped in crystalline seawater, near coconut trees, tropical trunks stretched majestic, or bent to kiss your everywhere sand pink granules. Not after you've bathed in ocean spray that perks, or rubbed a healing salt hug across your skin, and strolled a roadside lined with heaven's mounds, where a swift, firm chop of machete by agile hand, brown and with knowing charm, blesses your palate with God's grace, enveloped in pale green hue and fibrous husk, brimming, ready to pour. No water could be sweeter. There is no desert to dry a Sunday gentle wind, no harsh terrain to dull 3 practice cuts, a ritual opening of tropical coconut shell to scoop the tender jelly. Don't be fooled. The fronds of a California palm are towering, yes, but without warm breasts to succor life's uplifting scent of sea moss breeze and endless coral sun. End of poem number 1. And I am now thirsty for coconut water. So my second poem touches on traditions and superstitions and et cetera, et cetera. Ricin salt. The gnarled reddish-browned hand tosses salt over its old woman's shoulder, fresh garlic already pushed in the bosom. Its grown daughter's fingers learn to ease rice into creaky corners of their front house floorboards on Old Year's night. The grown daughter's child is born with eager, soft hands, cupped, waiting their turn, salt to blind the devil's way, rice to prosper. Generations keep on, scattering salvation salt, ringing in good years with reverend rituals. Then, foreign friend hands want to be let in, which leads to talking with mouths, to silencing of grace of hands, which leads to grumble from visiting throats and tongues. Why are the evils stinging our eyes? Why has our rice brought roaches and rats? Why is our prosperous good luck gone? Future generations of hands wink and exclaim. Chortles of disbelief spread across the land. But laughter can still be heard today. Our hands never taught you to right shoulder the salt, nor banish woman from salting the food during bleeds. Some others' hands trained you to rinse eyes in rice water, to clairvoyant the duppies or confuse the duppy umbrellas. You lost? Our palms never put water to boil. We never told you to cook the rice. Or did we? End of poem. Thank you.
Folks, that is the rich, sonorous poetry of Lynda V Crawford. We're gonna have to have coconut tonight now. We're going to have to do it. We're going to have to manifest some up here in Connecticut, which is a connection right back to Billy Brown and that German chocolate cake, right?
Thank you so much.
Coconut Day here on Cultivating Voices Live Poetry. It's our wild card open mic for the month of October. And oh, are the poets delivering the messages and the nourishment through poetry today. Thank you so much, Lynda. Now we will hear from Bryan Franco. Great to have you, followed by Mona Zamfirescu.
Thank you, Sandy Yannone. I just want to say, oh my God, Lynda V Crawford, you leave me in awe. Okay. The first poem is called The Final Renunciation of a Citizenship. She stared at the home she was raised in. A home her father carved from swampy woodland, a place that should not feel foreign to her, but did. Her mother passed 3 years prior from emphysema, diagnosed over 30 years after quitting smoking. Her father remained there. She asked him to move in with her and the kids. He declined. He needed the familiarity of this structure, much of which came from trees on the land. The wide planked pecan wood floors were a slight pinkish color that qualified as muted rust. The rough-hewn ponderosa pine walls felt and looked like cedar, but smelled sweeter. The porch railing, which was originally metal, was replaced with crepe myrtle branches harvested from trees her mom asked her dad to plant, that he crepe murdered 4 years later. He committed crepe murder every other year since and fashioned branches into canes he gave as gifts to elderly friends and relatives or sold at the church holiday bazaar. This now empty home was a rebirth of things taken from the land. Now empty of both her parents' furniture and bric-a-brac, she relinquished its future to a real estate agent. She walked across the floors. She ran her fingers along the walls. The stairs still had a telltale squeak on the fourth to last step. After she realized the hand-scrolled molding in her childhood bedroom was a love letter from father to daughter, its memory sweetened her sleeping dreams for years. And one more piece. why my life is an endless loop of cliches. As a chronically clumsy individual, it is not uncommon for me to find myself stumbling over my words, ending up with my face flat on the floor from simply misspeaking. And whilst I lay there in phantom paralysis, my words are running around in circles like chickens with their heads cut off, creating havoc in my life. Sometimes they run and run until they tire themselves out. But there are times it seems like they've juiced themselves with Lance Armstrong steroids to turn my life into a Tour de France downhill leg, causing me to tumble, crashing against anyone close to my path of least resistance, resulting in a most messy domino effect situation that ends up like a tangled pile of spaghetti that must be carefully cut in several different places to untangle the tangled web I wove in order for me to find any semblance of order, to find a way for me to find the right words. Right or wrong, that didn't have to happen. If only I had decided to think before I spoke. Gracias.
Oh, that's terrific work today from Bryan Franco. Good, you know, the pace and the tenor of those two poems were in such amazing contrast to each other. That the first poem that slowed down, I could hear that creaking on the stairs, and then the crescendo, the energy in the second poem. Great work. Thank you so much, Bryan Franco. And now we're doing very well, everyone. And I'm keeping my comments to a minimum also, because I'm eager to get us to as many folks on the waiting list. Our second to last featured reader today is Mona Zamfirescu. Great to have you with us today.
Thank you, Sandy. I have 3 shortish poems, no trigger warning on poems of mystic love. But I do want to say about the first poem that it's a collage made of lines that I picked at random from my poetry books. I just opened at random. So I just breathed life into it. So that's the first poem. My first poem is a collage. If you could sit with me beside the seat today, surrounded by stones and trees in the summer's heat and mid-time of the day, whatever my defects, this skin I could shed. Tonight, when the sea runs like a sore, I who have believed and disbelieved, I go on forgetting the elements, starting with water, believing you are not far. This poem I write in a small shadowed corner flows into the sea like the night into my thoughts. The heavens are blue deep and endless. Searching my days, I have yet to find you. You that sang to me once, sing to me now. I see my soul reflected in nature. The pine breezes loosen my robe. The hour of vengeance falls, and I love you. The second poem is called Treasure Chest. Whatever I try to hold in my treasure chest is lost sooner or later. In fact, it is already gone. The lid closed tightly over the rim does not prevent any dream from combusting sooner or later. In fact, it already has. Millions of shards return to the chaos of a supernova burst. Whatever I release comes to me, it seems, sooner or later. In fact, it has already come of its own accord, wholeheartedly coalescing a sacred universal design, sooner or later. In fact, it already did. Light pumping at perfect speed in and out of my chest, the most precious treasure. And the last poem, I promise, not too long. It's called Self-Portrait. Sigh falling softly. The contours of the day trace blue reflections, light flowing rivulets, waving water rings, in and out, smiles of wonder, smiles of jest. Find me in the play of shadows, the way they shift in this perpetual dance. Dance with me, dance with me, dance with me in the twilight of this life and the next. Wake with me as the world begins and ends. Sing with me this life that breathes light in and out of everything. My love, hear me sing this destiny into being. Watch me burn it in this enormous fire. Watch me burn in it. All the days and nights of my life, all the days and nights of me loving you. Thank you.
Wow, wow, wow. That is beautiful, deep blue depth of poetry.
Thank you.
Ramona Zamfirescu. Oh, exquisite, absolutely exquisite. Thank you so much. I look forward to our next time together. Well, our final feature for today, our final featured poet for today, before we get to the waiting list, hop over across the pond. Gordon Ferris, hitting a milestone, is working on the final chapters of the book, getting blurbs and things like that. We're so excited for you and look forward to hear some poems today. There you go, Gordon.
Okay, can you hear me? Yeah. This is a few pieces that I took out of my notebook and kind of put them together. There's no title on it yet. Okay. So, he weeps seeing human interactions. Alone he weeps to hide his humanity. He sits by himself watching good things happen to others. He sits by himself to read the words that make him feel deeply. He sits by himself to hear the music send the chill down his spine and touch the heart. He sits by himself to watch color and image on canvas, sending waves crashing on the shore. 2. 1,000 doors ago, before time added new colors to innocent people, before that naive innocence turned into spiteful cruelty. And 3. Sometimes self-doubt becomes so tiring. How often must I forgive myself before I feel whole? Will the stars keep looking down on me? Do they also think that I am beneath them? And I'm going to finish with. I got a book of short stories published last January, and I've started writing the second part of it, and it seems to be coming out in verse, you know. And it's also when the first part was written in the first person, it seems to work better. The second part seems to work better in the third person. So this is just a fragment from it that I'm going to read. It's a teenage boy after finishing school, and this is his first job. And it's the night it's in a bar, and he's finishing that night, and he's walking home. So the night over, George steps out into the cool night air. The silence envelops him, happy to be away from the stupid drink-filled talk. He was glad to see the back of the city centre, to get up Blessington Street, past the Mater Hospital, through Phibsborough and past Hart's Corner. To him, the city centre's edge. From here on, he was able to think freely without all the city night activity distracting. If only I could observe all I see and have peace inside my head at the same time. From here on, he wallowed in his own misery, frustration at the busy day, not being able to cope with what he thought of as abuse, but the offenders just thought of as a bit of crack. And then there was the attractive woman who spoke to him, but he could only answer yes, too fucking shy. The lunch breaks he had in the cheapest place he could find, where they had food at a price he could afford. There was usually 2 days of the week where this was the case. All his money had gone. Things he had promised himself he would get when he earned enough. A set of books, classics and Shakespeare, which he read once and soon found he preferred paperbacks that fit in his pockets, so he could read every single minute he got. He was a slow reader, and it took longer for things to sink in with him. Maybe I'm just a stupid idiot, he thought. Going past Glasnevin Cemetery, he wondered at the pauper's grave and why his grandmother ended up in one of these. Were his predecessors so poor they couldn't afford a proper burial? Or was the still among the living grandfather having to make a choice between the drink and his deceased wife's burial? In autumnal evenings, leaves wither and fall, trampled underfoot by a sliding shoe fall. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. That is Gordon Ferris. And again, another great reminder here. You know, I think of these readings often, and today, if you're just joining us, it's our wild card open mic, our October wild card open mic here on Cultivating Voices Live Poetry. You know, a reminder that if we have the opportunity to cross genres often, you know, and to listen to how our work wants to be received by the universe. And so I really love that you talked about in your process that the book of short stories in the sequel, I'm calling it a sequel, you might not, is having a tendency to come out in verse and going with that rather than resisting it. A great lesson for all of us out there working in multi-genres. Thank you so much, Gordon. We'll see you very soon. Be well, my friend. Well, everybody, that's our featured readers for today. We do have 7 folks on the waiting list, and I believe we'll get to all of them if I stop talking. Let's go directly to, for one poem each, up to 3 minutes, Jacki Slagle. Welcome, Jacki.
Thank you. Would it be all right if I do 2 short poems in 2.5 minutes? We'll see. Let me do the accommodate
it. I think I could accommodate it.
One,
generally, it's one. Yeah, that's fine.
A lot of people did one, and the second one's like a public service educational announcement, short. Okay, so I wrote this yesterday on the eclipse, which kind of still counts as right now, the new moon. I'm certain in my steps. There's an inner knowing of my destination. Call it universal guidance, star power, moon power, botanical, mammalian, avian power, magnetic, you know. We think just because it's invisible, soundless, odorless, tasteless, it must be senseless. I can see the organisms we coexist with, responsive to my heart space, magnetic, calm bubble. It's not easy to go with the flow, but it's the only path for carriers of comorbidity, for the overburdened, systemically weak, sensitive, and totally uncool ways. The problem with invisible toxins and invisible disability and invisible trauma, people feel entitled by their kids. This wasn't so bad. invisible. So people feel entitled to an opinion, whether or not my existence is valid, true, real. Oh yeah, Halloween decorations. You dare doubt my determination. You discover yourself dumbfounded, delineated, distanced from differentiating between best or bitch, beautiful or behemoth, blitzkrieg, impossibly interrogating ideas, intentionally irritated by information. So you're on the side of the ignorant now. Against learning, data, expert studies. Nah, just Jacki. Anything she says, nothing she says is real, true, right, good, obvious to this observer. And the second, educational, I remember you praised me last time, Sandy, for speaking about educational things. This one's called geoinformatics. We are beyond, turn left, look for the cemetery at the crest of the hill, REESE, house on the right, the analog days. We're beacons now, geographic points on a screen, on a grid. I will arrive in 33.3 minutes, perfectly timed to weighted measurements of distance, speed, limits, road type. Flawless, perfect example of the tenuously vulnerable cloud computation. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you so much. That's Jacki Slagle, everyone. Yep, that call to the analog. I'm right there with you. Right there with you. Well, next, what a pleasure today to hear a poem from the one, the only, Gary Lilley. And look, there's a cat.
Oh, I miss my cat. Okay. Well, I will say thank you, poets, for being. Thank you, Dianne, for giving the notice about the reading. I appreciate that. And I'm going to read a poem that's the subject is my brother, who had a traumatic brain injury. And he was in a coma for for just about 2 months, and come out of the coma, he was schizophrenic. And he lived on the street, and he walked across this country. He lived on the street for almost 40 years. My brother believes my mother has learned to read the signs. If a box of 24 bottles of whiskey is called a case of trouble, then I can call a handful of joints a party. Can I call my handful of joints a party? It must have been 4, 5, maybe 6 years before my mother knew where I was. And the first thing she did when she heard I was in Pomona was call the police and wanted them to look for me. She called the police. She sent them a photo and asked them to look for me. The police. The damn police interrogating all my friends on my welfare, on my whereabouts. Ain't none of them gonna snitch. Ain't none of them gonna give anything to say. But with the police snooping, wasn't much of anybody wanting to hang around me. Don't need it, don't need it, don't need the fucking medicine. This medicine puts the bullshit into my ears and tries to confuse me, telling me lies like he God talking to me, but I know it ain't God because I know God's voice when I hear it. God puts all the right answers in my head, the old folk answers, and I don't need the medicine. I don't need this kind of shit. My medicine puts in my head and tries to confuse me, telling me that he is the God that talks to me, but that is bullshit because I know God's voice when I hear it. Next thing my mother did after she found out where I was half living on the streets in Pomona, and who could have told her that if Helen didn't tell it? It would mean that now my mother was reading signs and that she was an oracle, how she How else could she know about the YMCA down the block where we slept most nights back then? And my mother paid a membership there. And that anytime I go during the days, if I needed to take a shower, if I needed to get the funk out of my own fucking face, if she said she paid my membership every month, who knew? You know what? Most people who call themselves Christians don't even live like Christ. But my mother, she did. Can you see where I'm going with all this? Damn, why can't they understand like I did when I figured out my mother and started reading the science and started believing in her again, in her goodness, which she had even when I made her mad enough to cuss me out. I don't know for sure, but I'm getting some kind of Iceberg Slim PTSD flashback into the Ice Age future vibe. All birds matter. Blackbirds don't discriminate except for the pigeons, the raptors, the eagles. All are allowed the space to perch on the telephone line. If a gathering of ravens is called an unkindness, why has a flock of crows got to be a murder? But why is a collective of magpies a congregation? There is no racism if everybody had what is necessary for life. There is no racism if everybody cared for everybody else. A case of whiskey is a box of 24 bottles of distilled trouble, and a handful of marijuana joints is what I call a party, and all of y'all are invited to the party. Thank you.
That is the unmistakable voice of Gary Lilley. Thank you, Gary.
Well, thank you.
Bring it every time, man. You bring it every time. I appreciate you. All right, my friends. Yep, there it is. Dianne speaking truth there in the chat. Yep. All right, next. Again, one poem, folks, here on our wait list, trying to get as many voices in as I can. We move next to Max Vandersteen. Great to have you with us today.
Thank you, Sandy. It's great to be here. I love spending Sunday afternoons with all these talented people. I've been here before a couple of times. You may have heard me read some poems from my book, Work of Words, about patchwork poetry, petropoetics, another word I use. I'm working my way to put out another book on that theme. And this is the latest poem I wrote called A Wistful Walk. On another shutdown, out of town, morning stroll to start the shift. Abstract sights, sounds, smells of towers, tanks, and drums turn back time to days of childhood past. The visual crisscross of steel highlines through the refinery reminds me of playground slides, swings, and monkey bars, where summer days you'd often find me. Or the trestles we would climb atop to cross the Bull River while a train chugged the span and shook the bridge girders while above we shimmied the narrow steel pane. A storage tank with open manways emanating petroleum scents fuels memories of railroad yards with railway cars reeking of oil contents. We climbed over, under, and explored. And creosote-soaked ties on railway lines, we walked for miles while picking spear grass growing along the tracks, or from our clothes oft times. Or boiling hot tar used to fill the cracks on rough roads we biked in brotherhood, or used to patch the roof of our school that lingered throughout the neighborhood. Then the sound of heavy laden semis clanging on and off the loading scales is like listening as the trains passed, then picking our Plan 8 pennies from the rails. Gasoline wafting my direction from a headless, empty exchanger prompts reminiscence of bygone days when young men in cars were no strangers. And changing oil, points, plugs, rotors, or brakes, covered in grease with hood in the air, we would putter, optimize, hop up, or perform any kind of repair. And also filling lawnmowers to cut the grass and boat motors to ski around the lake or troll for fish to cook for breakfast. Deep from dream scenes, it is time to wake when focus is mustered in a breath of sour gas, which evokes misgiving, and now nostalgia is abandoned, for it is time to make my living. Thanks all.
That's Max Vandersteen, everyone. And again, another great example of when we lean into what we know and the uniqueness of our situations. Billy Brown wrote, the petrol poet. Yes, I mean, yeah, it's incredible. It's incredible, your work, and thank you so much. Always great to have you with us, Max. Nice to see you. Mm-hmm. And put in the chat also, I know the Stroll of Poets has been going around, is going on, and things up in your area. A lot of good work, a lot of good open mics opportunities in the provinces of Canada. Very good. All right. Well, next we'll hear from Ron Bremner. Nice to have you with us today, my friend.
I think Ron has left, Sandy.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. We will move next to, I believe now, yes, Grace Sampson. And let's double check. That's all right. Sometimes. Yep. Okay.
Grace had to leave too.
Yep, I see too. Okay. Yep, we're checking it out, everybody. Here, this is the wait list situation. So all the more reason we'll get some folks in that contacted me. It's all good. It's all good. All right. Well, next, I think Jennifer Elise Wang is still with us, and I'm looking forward, as always, to hearing your voice, my friend. Thank you for being with us today.
All right. Yeah, thanks for having me. Since it's October, busting out one of my Halloween supernatural poems. This was published in the Lorelei Signal and is called Samhain Night. At midnight, the moon becomes as radiant as the sun at noon. The witch becomes the goddess, and I, one without magic, can see through the alabaster doorway to another world where the dead walk again. Its sky seeps into our realm, the color of blood, slowly drying until it fades into the black hue of embers sitting in the witch's cauldron, beating out their last heartbeats. As time passes, from the dark void does new life rise, merging with the wind that fans a tiny spark into lively flames. Orange breaks through the shadowy sky, and the veil is pulled over my eyes again. But she, the one I met on Samhain night, remains a goddess.
Thank you for bringing the poem, bringing the Halloween to the wild card open mic here on Cultivating Voices Live Poetry. Hey, a reminder, you tried just a slight opening for me to remind folks, there's this amazing book called Poetry is Spellcasting. If you're not familiar with it yet, poems, essays, and prompts for manifesting liberation and reclaiming power. The editors are Tomiko Bayer, Destiny Hempel, and Lizbeth White. It's a fantastic, fantastic book. Thanks, Jennifer, for giving me the space to remind folks of that great poem. Thanks for bringing your voice and your work today. All right. Yeah, the wish becomes the goddess. I do love it. I did love that poem. Well, next we hear from our dear friend, Isaac Cohen. I'm grateful that you can be with us today. I know that so many of us, you are in our hearts, and I'm glad to have you with us today. It looks like
Yes.
There he is. There he is.
Dear friends, Israel is in a hard time, and but I hope that that the future will be good, because to be Israel is to fight and fight all over the life. My poem, dedicated to lost souls of Nova Nature Party. Hide Cohen, the pure souls. Souls, you clean up to catch the minutes of culture. The music sends you to freedom. The Vandals stop the voice of youth and send you to the grave. Thank you, Sandy. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Don, and all my friends that support me, because it's very hard. Today, siren, and yesterday, sirens, and the rockets, and people no come to work, and the children no go to school. But we hope that the future will be good. Thank you. Thank you, friends.
Thank you. Thank you. That's Isaac Cohen. And, this everyone is when, poetry becomes its most potent and powerful. And I'm very struck by that. This is a moment also when silence is a very, very good thing in someone's world. Usually we say, oh, silence will not protect you, but that's when we're talking about the voice as opposed to the sounds of destruction. And I pray for as all the silence that can happen everywhere in this realm. Be well, Isaac. I will be holding you and all the peoples in my heart perpetually. My mom too. Well, folks, our next reader is Cece Arshagra. Great to have you. I'm so glad it's worked out that we get to hear your voice today.
Hi. Thank you. Is the piano going to be okay?
We love the piano. Are you kidding me?
Oh, I had no idea, because I could read lyrics, but I'm really on a big lyric kick lately. So and playing piano has been a big thing. So I'm going to play and sing. I'll apologize for those two things, but not the words. This is a simple, short one. I put on the original sound. Is that good? Okay. I believe in the parenting of life. And no one owns a woman. No one owns a child's love. And I believe this is the highest art form, and the abuse of innocence is the highest crime. And I believe the only way to rise is to always fall true and never be above you. And I believe forgiveness is a mirror. You need no fist, word, or hammer to break reasons into blame. And I belief must not fear dying. And you should never fear to ask a naked, honest question. And I believe that being wrong is a blessing. And when you still don't know the answer, the law of love is one. And I believe in the parenting of life. And no one owns a woman. No one owns a child's love. No one owns a child's love. No one owns a child's love. And this is my book. If anybody's interested, ccrshagra.com is the thing. And thank you for welcoming that.
That performance was an absolute blessing to the program today. My mom said there should be a standing ovation.
Oh, thank you, moms. Standing ovation for mom instead.
I agree. What a perfect ending to our program. I think the best thing we can do in these times is to listen to the messages of that poem and to hear the music. That's CC Arshagra, everyone. Please come back with or without the piano.
Okay.
I will take the piano anytime, trust me, but it's your song that I want to hear. Thank you. Everyone, I'll make my final remarks for today, but before I do and remind you who we heard from today, we heard at the top of the hour from Catherine Ronan, Harvey Soss, Julian Matthews, Joanne James, Ken Burch, Lenora Good, Dianne Knox, Billy Brown, Lynda V Crawford, Bryan Franco, Mona Zamfirescu, Gordon Ferris, and we got through our whole waiting list. Jacki Slagle, Gary Lilley, Max Vandersteen, Jennifer Elise Wang, Isaac Cohen, and we closed out with Cece Arshagra. Thank you, one and all. And would you please take a moment, everyone here in the room, the Zoom room, to unmute and show your deep appreciation for this celebration of poetry and community.
And thank you, Sandy, for all you do. And the way that you care about everyone's poem.
Thank you.
Huzzah,
Thank you,
huzzah.
Sandy.
I said Gary
Wonderful
Lilley. Yes,
support.
I better have said Gary Lilley. Oh my gosh, what a great
Love the way
reading,
you talk with
everyone.
your hands too.
Thank
You got
you,
the needle
John.
and thread thing
Thank
going.
Well, folks, as
Great
we
reading.
close for today, a reminder that, this October, the calendar ends very early for us. So this is our final reading for October. So go well into these next 2 weeks and keep doing your good work and attend readings where you can. We will be back, of course, the first Sunday of November with our Poets Focus, and I believe our word is legacy. We invite you to...
No.
Oh, it's not. Okay, I knew it. I knew I was going to blow it.
You chose, I
Oh my
hadn't
gosh.
typed it yet, but you chose the word inspired from a reading that you attended, which included our member Karen Poppy.
Okay.
And the word is lineage.
Oh, lineage. They're similar. They're connected. They're connected. Legacy and lineage, they're close. They're very close. Thank you. This is why Don and Kim are here, because the program would be pandemonium without them. That is correct. The word is lineage. Yes.
And Sandy, don't you feel like that's poetic lineage too?
It is absolutely about poetic lineage. Yes, it absolutely can be. Bring a poem. If you're one of our, if you're one of our, bring a poem by someone connected to the lineage of where your voice has emerged from, a poem in homage to someone that is part of your poetic lineage. It's the Poets Focus. You folks create the prism. We sit back and we listen to your fantastic, fantastic words, images, and magic. It's all magic here on Cultivating Voices, live poetry. Again, what a deeply, deeply moving program today. I literally just had chills. I literally just had chills as I was just reliving it through the past moment. Again, I encourage you all to join us in the month of November. We also have a fantastic, fantastic new book showcase coming up for you in the month of November and moving right on into December. And we're programming right through to spring at this point. Please mark your calendars and join us when you can. And of course, we'll return for our wild card open mic third Sunday of the month. Well, everyone, I'm Sandy Yannone, your host of Cultivating Voices Live Poetry, with just the deepest appreciation for all of you joining us. Some of you are joining us from the most challenging places to arrive and listen to poetry. And this space is always a space where we hope to be able to hold all of you at all times for the highest good, I encourage you, as I always do every single week, to please take good care of yourselves. Take extremely good care of your beloveds. My friends, the power of your words continues to be urgent, needed, absolutely necessary. Please, please do your best when you can to keep writing those miracles that we call poems. I will see you in 2 weeks. Take very good care. And happy Halloween.
Thank you, Sandy. Thank you, Don. Thank you, Kim.